Hi everyone, Srini here and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon to get notifications. So if you'll be getting a lot of free useful videos on programming as well as clearing interviews, different automation tools and techniques, as well as we are going to explore different APIs, right? So let's get started with today's topic. Today we are going to look at what are the skills required in order for us to get a job in automation. So it's like a very popular trend these days that we have got so many different automation tools in the IT industry that everyone wants to get into automation area. And definitely, you would definitely be able to get a job. But there are certain skills which are required in order for you to get a job in automation. And we are going to discuss on that in detail. So please do watch the video till the end and do let me know in case you want me to detail out any particular point and me to create another video for the same. So let's get on to the topic. So this will be the different things which I'll be talking about in this particular video. So first of all, the skill which you need to have, which the interviewer would be evaluating you, are going to be on the basis of manual testing as well. The reason being, any particular person who wants to get a job in automation, it's ultimately testing. Okay. And when we talk about testing, you need to have a very good hold on manual testing, different techniques, then the test metrics, right? Whatever different things which we do when in case whenever we are working as a manual tester, what all different things we need to work on. We need to be aware of different strategies as to how we can design test cases. We need to know about the test metrics, like example, what all we'll be including as a part of a daily status report when we are sending it to the management. Also, we would be required to know about how to create a test plan. What is there inside a test plan? What is test strategy? What exactly is there in test strategy? So these all different concepts which are there, which are like the manual testing concepts, are so critical because it's not just about the automation or the coding part. It's also about knowing the testing thing in and out. Because a good automation tester would know all the manual testing things as well as that particular person would be able to code as well as do automation scripting execution as well. Okay. So this is a very important point which we should not forget. Second thing is about thinking about the overall product functionality and being able to design positive, negative, and corner scenarios. So there would be a scenario where the interviewer might try to also judge you on the basis of your interactive skills as well as your reasoning skills, right? They will try to give you a kind of a simple question. Example, like you're going inside an elevator. Okay. So can you please design the positive, negative test cases? They will just talk about the different test cases. They will not say positive or negative. So they will leave it up to the person, the interviewee, as to think in depth as to what's going to be the product, what is going to be the functionality. So you have to think about, okay, positive scenario could be like, okay, it's able to take so and so persons and it is able to go up or down, right? It's able to function properly, or the buttons are working properly. If you press first flow, it should go to the first flow. Then the other check could be that whatever is the weight mentioned in the lift, right, it's able to carry that much maximum weight. So there would be definitely some testing which has to be done by so and so the lift maintenance department, right? They have to carry out all these things before they just declare that it is ready to use, right? Similarly, negative or the stress testing kind of scenarios where we know that after a certain point or a threshold, there might be a chance that lift may behave some, uncertainly way, right? So how do we test that part? So we need to think on those areas. How are we going to design positive, negative, and corner scenario? Means it's like a boundary condition value or equivalence part testing. Those kind of things we need to take into consideration that it's in one of the area that this value would fall, otherwise it will fall inside the other range. So we need to think about that as well. So that's about the corner cases. Third important point is that you need to have a very strong hold on any one programming language. So nowadays the trend is in object-oriented programming languages, as you all might be already aware, and Python is trending like anything. But Java has been there since a long time. So is C Sharp. So these three languages is what I would rate as the one of the top picks which you need to think about. Okay, so you need to pick up one of them and become very good in its basics as well as being able to code, do troubleshooting if any issues you are able to find, right? So I hope you all are able to pick up one of them and master it. And do let me know if you need me to prepare any videos on the same. The fourth important part is you need to have a good practical hands-on on the above selected programming language, whichever you choose. So it's not just about theoretical or clearing the interview just for the sake of clearing, right? You need to be able to work on a project. You need to contribute to the ongoing project. You need to maybe create a framework from the scratch, depending upon whatever role that particular person is desiring for. If we are having a person going for, let's say, a junior or a senior developer, that person at least should be able to enhance the existing automation framework, right? But if you're talking about automation lead or automation architect, that person should definitely be able to create a framework from scratch, do code reviews. So many things are there which an automation lead or architect senior roles would have to do. So you definitely need to have a very good hands-on on any one programming language. Then the next important thing is that we should be able to deliver any task with a very less support required from other team members for automation. So it should be like you are self-independent, you are able to do the task given to you, as well as you don't need that much of support initially. Of course, there might be some support required to just set it up or make it work. But otherwise, you should be able to do any task given to you on your own. So you should be self-sufficient, is what I meant to say here. So that they will also try to judge you based on the kind of questions they would be asking in the interview. The next important point is that you need to understand the existing automation framework design and the components and how they are working with each other. So this is very important because if you are going to work on any particular project, right? If you don't understand the existing automation framework, or if you don't know how they interconnect with each other, or how to do debugging. So basically, how a new person learns automation framework, whichever project that particular person has been put into, right? So they try to learn by putting debug points. They should be able to put a debug point at a particular place, and then they should be able to debug and see how the automation framework is working. How is the flow going on from one particular, like example, there are some before or a prerequisite task, right, which have to be executed before you start your automation execution. So where do they go? Which function is getting called? How it is giving the data? How the data is being consumed by our test cases? Similarly, how does a test case execution happen? If it is, of course, having some locators involved, which particular component is called? How it is called? Then what are we doing for logging purpose? How are the reports and everything getting captured for the automation execution? And post the execution, how is the cleanup happening? If you don't understand this end-to-end picture of your existing automation framework design or the components, how they interact with each other, it is very difficult for any new person should, if they are asked to enhance the framework or contribute to the framework, it is very difficult, right? So the person should be having some skill in order to understand the framework and also try to put efforts on doing debugging and understanding the end-to-end, the way it works, right? That's the very important part. And similar thing I've mentioned in the next point, very good debugging skills, because in case if a particular person gets stuck somewhere in the middle of execution, so every time that person cannot be dependent on some other team member to help them out, right? So that particular person should know how to debug it, how to put breakpoint, how to troubleshoot, how do we fix the issue, and then how do we also ensure that none other areas of the code or the framework are impacted. So basically, your framework should not be broken or your code should not be broken such that if you're trying to fix something, something else is getting broken. It should be in a way that everything is working fine. So you should be able to also carry out sufficient unit testing in order to ensure that your this particular fix is working for all the scenarios. So this is something very important to have, and interviewer definitely try to do that kind of a evaluation when they try to give you certain practical coding questions. They will also try to give you coding questions where they will ask you to find out errors in the existing code, or they will ask you how you can fine tune the code. So these things we need to definitely imbibe these skills as we start working on any particular language. The next part is that we need to be very good in creating locator, because there would be times where the application would not be having ID, class, or any such kind of direct things which we can use, right? So it will be very useful if a person knows CSS selector or different XPath strategies or XPath access methods like ancestors, sibling, right? Then parent, so and so. So all different methods are there in XPath which you need to use. Similarly, in CSS selector as well, we have got so many different strategies which you need to be aware of. The next important part is you need to have a very good soft skills like communication skills, presentation skills, self-confidence, listening skills as well, because it's not just about talking to the interviewer whatever you want to mention, or reply. It's also about listening to the question correctly, completely, and also answer it with that whatever things have been asked. Okay. The details we need to be careful about. If the interviewer is asking in brief, mention only to that particular point. Don't go so much in detail. But if they are asking specifically, mention in detail, then you can uh, reply them accordingly. So this is very important. You need to be able to have a very good listening skill in order to understand the question and reply accordingly. Always be polite in your approach, no matter what kind of interview or what position of the interview you are being, required to attend for. This is so important because in today's IT industry, we have to be polite in whatever work we are getting, because it's such a competing field that everyone is agreeing to work or work on a stressful environment. So it's very difficult for any particular person to be able to vouch for that particular thing unless they are meeting the soft skills. So it's very important. The next important point is that we have to have a good clarity on the automation framework. How are the oops concepts getting used? Okay. So this is such an important concept that we need to also maintain the existing standard of the code. If some new person joins, that person should be also be able to maintain the same. How to use, how the framework has been designed, how to maintain it in the long run. It should be flexible, it should be scalable. So these all things we need to be aware of. How do we work on a particular framework? Then you need to also have a very good versioning tool experience like Git, SVN. But preferably, I've seen multiple companies nowadays are preferring Git because it offers some advantages over SVN. Like you can have a local repository and you can have a remote repository. So you can try to resolve all your code conflicts, etc., in your local repo before you are trying to commit some changes and push it to the remote repository. So this is having a very good advantage compared to SVN. So I would definitely recommend that you need to learn Git, at least the basic commands from CLI, as well as using GitHub, some particular GUI tool, in order to get comfortable with how we are able to fetch the code, pull the code, push the code, all the basic Git operations which we are required to work in a team. Okay. And last but not the least is that you need to definitely be able to have some hands-on experience with CI/CD tool like Jenkins, because everything is starting with Jenkins. You're creating a project in Jenkins, and that particular project is going to reference certain Git repository, and you need to configure certain things in Jenkins, like settings are there, like which particular tool are you using. For example, you're using Java. So how are the different settings which are there, like the Java home or the Java, where are the different settings for that? Similarly, Maven, where is our Maven configured? So all those different things we need to be aware of. Similarly, if you do certain code changes in your framework, do you want something to be getting automatically triggered, like a automation execution to get triggered, and report will be getting captured and sent to certain stakeholder? So all these different things, everything is configured in Jenkins. I have not mentioned one particular thing because that is the Docker and Kubernetes, which is very popular these days. The reason being, this is from a generic perspective that anyone going into automation at least need to know these things. Okay. But if you are definitely looking for a role beyond senior automation engineer, nowadays that has become a very mandatory thing that you need to know Docker and Kubernetes also. At least the basics of Docker and Kubernetes should be known. So if you want me to create any video on the same, I'll be very much happy to create, as well as for Jenkins or Git or any particular thing which you want me to create a video. Please do let me know in the comment. I hope this video was useful and you get a job soon in the field of automation. Thank you so much. And please do subscribe to my channel if you've not done it. Thank you guys.